historic American presidential election, Donald Trump becomes the 45th president of the United States. Hillary Clinton and President Obama call for Americans to unify. And South Korean President Park Geun-hye sends a congratulatory message to President-elect Trump, expressing a willingness to further strengthen their alliance. Other world leaders also react to the shock victory. Plus, with the abuse of power scandal still shaking the nation, Korea's opposition bloc rejects President Park's proposal to nominate lawmakers' pick for prime minister. They demand she step back from all state affairs. These stories and more coming right up. Hello, it's Thursday, November 10th here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. Our top story this morning, the United States has a new president-elect, Donald Trump. He swept to a surprising victory over Hillary Clinton in Tuesday's historic election. Giving his acceptance speech, Trump said it was time for the nation to come together as one united people. Kim Jung-soo has more.
The 58th U.S. election came to a close, with Republican nominee Donald Trump edging out Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton to become the new president of the nation. Around 3 a.m. Wednesday morning, Trump, along with his co-runner Mike Pence, gave an emphatic victory speech at his New York HQ, reflecting on the grueling and tumultuous journey he had endured to get to the White House.
Just received a call from Secretary Clinton. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard.
He also pledged that he will strive to lead a country ravaged by ideological divisions, keeping a cautious distance with his usually fiery rhetoric.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. We have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
Looking back, the 2016 election could certainly be considered as one of the most controversial in the nation's history. Trump, a passionate critic of the idea of political correctness, quickly distinguished himself by denouncing illegal immigration, various free trade agreements including the Trans-Pacific Partnership, as well as calling for a ban on Muslims from entering the country. He was also accused of sexually harassing women, as well as using loopholes in the country's tax code. Clinton, on the other hand, was accused of using her private email server while handling classified information, an issue that was investigated by the FBI until the very end of the election. Meanwhile, reports indicate that the Clinton campaign had vastly outspent Trump throughout the election season. According to CNBC, as of October 19th, Clinton had raised $513 million and spent $450 million, while Trump raised $255 million and spent $239 million. Kim Jung-soo, Arirang News.
And Hillary Clinton has appeared in public for the first time after suffering a shock defeat in the U.S. presidential election. With the latest, we have our Aram on the line. Aram, what did Clinton have to say?
Yes, Gia, after conceding defeat, Clinton spoke out for the first time since the result, urging supporters to keep an open mind. She added that President-elect Donald Trump must be given a chance to lead. Here she is speaking in New York.
Donald Trump is going to be our president. We owe him an open mind and the chance to lead. Our constitutional democracy enshrines the peaceful transfer of power. And we don't just respect that, we cherish it.
While admitting that the result was painful and there was a deep divide in the country, Clinton said the election was for America, not just about one person or election, adding that the public must accept the result and look to the future. The incumbent president also spoke out regarding Trump's win. Barack Obama congratulated his successor in a phone call in the early hours of the morning. He also spoke at the White House and said that he and Trump had their differences. This is what he had to say.
I had a chance to talk to President-elect Trump last night, about 3:30 in the morning, I think it was, to congratulate him on winning the election. And I had a chance to invite him to come to the White House tomorrow to talk about making sure that there is a successful transition between our presidencies. Now, it is no secret that the President-elect and I have some pretty significant differences. But remember, 8 years ago, President Bush and I had some pretty significant differences.
President Obama went on to congratulate Clinton for her service to the country and said that people had to remember that all Americans are on the same team.
Adam, let's now turn over to the stock markets. Surprisingly, Wall Street has traded higher on unusually high volume. Could you tell us more about that?
Indeed, Gia, U.S. stocks managed to rally on Wednesday in a dramatic turnaround from overnight losses and as investors poured into sectors that appeared poised to benefit from the policies of a Trump presidency. Gains of 3% each in healthcare and financial sectors pushed the indices higher. The Dow closed 1.4% higher, the S&P gained 1.2%, and the Nasdaq was up 1%. Back to you, Gia.
All right, thanks for that, Arirang. We appreciate it. And South Korea's presidential office convened an emergency National Security Council meeting once it became clear Donald Trump had won the White House. Following the meeting, President Park Geun-hye sent a congratulatory message to the president-elect, saying Seoul wants to work closely with his incoming administration over the next 4 years. Song Ji-sun reports.
After a meeting held to discuss the results of the U.S. presidential election, the National Security Council reported to the president, with the chief commander ordering full preparations for the new U.S. administration.
미국은 우리의 동맹국으로서 한미 관계가 우리의 외교 안보 및 경제에 미치는 영향이 큰 만큼 향후 차기 트럼프 행정부와의 관계 발전을 돈독히 해 나가기 위한 방안을 면밀하게 점검할 필요가 있다고 생각합니다.
Park asked foreign affairs and security officials to develop concrete plans so that Seoul and Washington's strong pressure on Pyongyang over its nuclear ambitions can carry over to the new administration.
특히 북핵 미사일 위협이 날로 고조되고 있는 엄중한 상황임을 감안해 인수위 단계부터 미 차기 행정부와의 협력 관계를 조기에 구축하여 주기를 바랍니다.
Park also sent a congratulatory message to President-elect Trump, expressing hope for stronger cooperation, and will likely seek an opportunity to speak with the new U.S. president on the phone at an early date to reaffirm bilateral ties. In a press release, the South Korean government said it will continue to closely coordinate with the new U.S. administration for a stronger alliance and for peace and prosperity on the Korean peninsula, in Northeast Asia, and around the world. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
And world leaders also sent congratulatory messages to the U.S. President-elect Donald Trump. All of them expressed hope for a good relationship following his win. Russian President Vladimir Putin wished him well, saying Moscow is ready to restore relations with the U.S. For Putin's message and more, let's take a look.
Russia is ready and wants to restore full-fledged relations with the U.S. I repeat that we understand this won't be an easy path, but we are ready to play our part in it and do everything to return Russia-U.S. relations to a stable course of development.
Well, I congratulate Donald Trump on being elected as the next President of the United States. Britain and the United States are and will remain strong and close partners on trade, security and defence. We have a long-standing and enduring special relationship which is built on our shared values of freedom, of democracy and enterprise. And I look forward to working with President-elect Trump to ensure that we can maintain the security and prosperity of our two nations in the future.
Germany and America are bound together by values: democracy, freedom, respect of law, and respect of people regardless of their origin, the color of their skin, their religion, gender, sexual orientation, of their political beliefs. On the basis of these values, I am offering to work closely with the future President of the United States, Donald Trump.
I hope to work with the next U.S. President Trump on many global issues. I'm looking forward to working with him.
Meanwhile, South Korea's top diplomat believes America's President-elect Donald Trump will remain on the same page as Seoul when it comes to the allies' North Korea policies. Kwon So-ah reports.
South Korea's top diplomat Yoon Byung-se's prediction of Washington's future policies regarding North Korea is that they won't be that different from now.
The next U.S. administration's basic policy on North Korea is generally expected to continue as it is now, with an emphasis on enforcing pressure and sanctions on North Korea.
The minister made the remarks during a meeting with ruling Saenuri Party lawmakers Wednesday afternoon, which dealt with response measures towards the United States' new leadership. This was when Yoon already hinted that Donald Trump has garnered more votes than his rival Hillary Clinton. Yoon assessed that both Trump and Clinton shared a similar stance on South Korea-U.S. bilateral relations and are on the same page when it comes to the severity of North Korea's nuclear development. But as the new U.S. administration's policies will now work on details, the minister stressed the importance of closely analyzing what's been discussed throughout the election process.
The Foreign Ministry will strengthen its efforts towards the transition team and do its utmost for the continuation of existing policies and constructing a cooperative relationship.
Seoul's foreign ministry has been operating a task force, holding meetings with other related ministries and being active in outreach efforts towards key figures of both the Trump and Clinton camps, with a total of around 190 contacts made this year alone. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Shifting gears, Korea's opposition bloc have spoken with one voice on President Park Geun-hye's proposal that she will push with the nomination of their pick for the nation's prime minister. The opposition lawmakers have rejected it, saying it was merely for show and urging the president to step back from state affairs. Kim Myung-gil has the details.
Korea's three main opposition parties said Wednesday that President Park Geun-hye is not dealing with the fallout from the scandal gripping the nation, but leaving room for herself to regain control of her administration at a later date.
The people are outraged because the president is neither stepping aside to renounce her power or to resign the presidency. She has lost the capability and moral authority to run state affairs.
At a rare visit to Parliament on Tuesday, President Park had indicated to Assembly Speaker Chung Se-kyun that she would hand control of the cabinet to a prime minister recommended by the opposition bloc. But the opposition parties have rejected her request. They said that the visit was all for show and made it seem like it was the opposition, not the president, that was cutting off communication.
The president thinks that with her visit to Parliament, the ball is in the opposition's court, but she cannot use it to cover up the Park Geun-hye Chae Sun-sil scandal.
The more outspoken Justice Party slammed President Park for not fully clarifying the scope of authority she would give to the new prime minister.
A neutral cabinet can be effective only when the president hands over executive power to the prime minister. If the president steps aside, that will effectively signal her resignation.
They also said the president is trying to evade responsibility with nothing more than stopgap measures and urged her to give up her ruling party membership. Meanwhile, members of the ruling Saenuri Party remain divided on how the party should handle the political scandal involving President Park's confidant. Lawmakers from the non-pro-Park faction are pushing for a separate leadership within the party to purge the pro-Park wing. Kim Myung-gil, Arirang News.
And turning to the prosecution's probe into the sprawling political scandal here in Korea, one of the two foundations embroiled in the Chae Sun-sil scandal returned up to $6 million in donations from Lotte Group a day before prosecutors raided the headquarters of the retail giant. Kim Hae-sung has more.
Prosecutors stepped up their investigation into the abuse of power scandal swirling around President Park Geun-hye's confidant Choi Soon-sil. On Wednesday, they raided the homes of two former presidential aides, An Bong-geun and Lee Jae-man, who served as presidential secretaries for public relations and administrative affairs. Prosecutors reported they seized cell phones, documents, and hard disks related to the case. The two, along with former presidential personal secretary Chung Ho-sung, have had close ties with President Park since 1998 and are accused of leaking confidential state documents to Choi. At the same time, state prosecutors are widening their probe into all 53 companies that are related to the two government-linked foundations at the center of the scandal. Choi Soon-sil is accused of forcing Korean corporations to donate roughly $70 million to the two foundations, Miru and K-Sports. Prosecutors announced Wednesday they discovered K-Sports had returned $6 million to Lotte Group on the day before they raided the retail giant. The raid happened on June 10th and was conducted in connection with an investigation into the corruption charges against the founding family. Prosecutors said K-Sports returned the money to Lotte Group between June 9th and 14th. The timing of the events raised suspicions that someone had leaked information on the probe to K-Sports. Prosecutors say the prime suspect is former Presidential Secretary of Civil Affairs Woo Byung-woo. Kim Hae-sung, Arirang News.
And that wraps it up for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Hwang Jae, and I'll be back in less than 2 hours for more news updates, so do stay tuned for that, and goodbye for now.